Let's have a quick analysis as far as security is concerned. I have a security analyst, Adam Bona, joining us for this particular conversation. Mr. Bona, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. It's quite a sad story, but this is where we are. I'm sure that you've been following the conversation so far. As a security analyst, would you say that the way that the conversation is going, the way that information is being poured out there through social media, on traditional media, that it has any potential of jeopardizing the investigations that are ongoing?
Good evening. Good afternoon to your cherished viewers. I'm sure you know I will say good evening because I'm usually on PM Express. Mm-hmm. Well, what I can say is that anyone who says, showing, putting a lot of information out there about this young, girls would jeopardize the work in terms of getting them rescued, would hamper it. That maybe that person doesn't know that much. Because I have to be honest with you, I had spoken to some families of, I think the lady there, I didn't even know, I think her name is Nanadra or something.
Yeah.
Herself and another person have been talking to me. But I didn't know her, and I have to be honest with you, my interest in it wasn't probably that much, this whole thing was almost like a joke till probably, thank you to yourselves, the multimedia team, putting a lot of emphasis on this and making this a national issue. It shouldn't be even one girl kidnapped. And so if not for the fact that you put out the information there, I mean, if I go to social media, any of my social media handles, the images are there. And so I must admit that you guys are doing well, and I want to believe that other networks who are watching us, both conventional, radio, TV, social media, I mean, let's all, throw a lot more light on the fact that we need them, and their faces should be shown everywhere.
Right. Now, I mean, that's for the pictures. I mean, that's for the pictures. That's for the pictures. But sometimes when you speak to the police, there is the impression created as though they cannot give you information because they feel like it will jeopardize the investigations. But to what extent? I mean, how much information can they give that would rather help the investigation than jeopardize it?
Well, they for instance, we now know that they have a team in Takoradi helping with the investigations. I think the press conference that was held today by the police regional commander and his team, I think he made it known that they had a team from the headquarters who were on the ground to assist them with the investigation. These are some of the things families and Ghanaians and the whole world want to hear. That you see, they are getting the support, the headquarters is supporting, or else then it becomes just a Western regional issue. And so giving us this information wouldn't jeopardize, how much, whatever they are doing, we don't erase it. And then, secondly, they told us, I mean, which I think they shouldn't have, that some information they have had to do with some of these girls were in some relationship or so. For me, I think they themselves would have to also manage some of this information. For now, that is not what some of us want to hear. All we want to hear is where are the girls. Right. And so let's move forward. Let's get them, then we can ask questions.
Okay. So in moving forward, are there any... Yesterday, I spoke to the regional commander. I spoke to him and I asked him why they have had to keep this gentleman for 17 days, and he's leading them consistently to places where they find nothing, but they still are keeping him. And it did not sound like there has been any further development, any progress made as far as finding the girls is concerned when I spoke to him. It looks like they are at a standstill with the investigation. What sort of advice would you have? What sort of ideas would you advance as to how they can proceed with this particular case and where it is?
I think what I have done on my own, also trying to get a lot of information from, the CID. I mean, when I say CID, getting a lot of information had to do with the fact that what are they doing? Because then we talking to our Nigerian security counterparts? But I was told that yes, that is being done, and I think out of that they established that the guy is someone who might have been convicted in the past. And so I'm told, I'm reliably informed that they are working on those leads in Nigeria to see who his friends are, who probably he was staying with in Ghana. They are trying to get a lot of information about him. Okay. One other thing I hope that they will do, if the taxi driver, the last cabbie or the last taxi he picked, if the driver is listening and watching us, maybe the police should encourage the driver to come to their station and tell them what he knows. I believe that from the narrative, I mean, through your network, Kojo Youngson asked, I think, a lady who was with one of the victims,
a friend of hers,
saw one of the victims. Yeah. And she actually did indicate that they both sat in a taxi. Either she got down first or the victim who is in captivity got down first. But somehow a taxi driver picked them. Do we know who this taxi driver is? We need to know. Is the taxi driver, what does the taxi driver know? What is the involvement of that taxi? These are things that I think through the media, we are able to put out there so that those who are watching and might have seen something, saw something, heard something, felt something, would come forward to report. And so one thing we haven't looked at has to do with her movement, her last movement with the taxi driver. So probably they should do that. But I believe that the police would have to find other ways of making him talk. He needs to talk. I mean, they need to, if they don't know how to do it, I would encourage them to ask, the Guantanamo Bay, military.
Are you by this way suggesting torture? Because that's not an acceptable.
I'm not saying torture.
Right, because that's not an acceptable way of interrogation.
One of the methods used was torture in the Guantanamo Bay prison. But there were other means, other ways of extracting information from hardened criminals like him. So apart from, there is the International Convention Against Torture, and so I'll be the last person to call for torture. But there are other ways of getting him talk. It's been used elsewhere and it's been approved to be used. I wouldn't want to go into it, but I believe that these things will be discussed behind closed doors so that they can get him to talk. He has to talk. Tell us where the girls are.
Tell us where the girls are. Let me end with this part of the conversation about the bigger picture. There are fears that could there be a syndicate? The police and lots of people who have analyzed this have said that there seems to be a trace of professionalism in the work that these people seem to be doing. There are fears that there could be a kidnapping syndicate in this area. I mean, we're looking at 3 girls, and we're even hearing reports that some people have reported to us that they. So let me specifically say there was a lady who said that her child was kidnapped but was freed later, and there are still concerns about ongoing issues like this. Are these fears that there could be a syndicate, a professional kidnapping syndicate working in the Western region, unfounded, or are they somehow justified? And why would you say?
No, they are justified. If you know the modus operandi of what you call it, those who would kidnap people to be able to get ransom for ransom purposes, to be paid money. Usually, it's a network, and that network is properly rehearsed. They would have trained, they would have psyched themselves, they would have developed a certain pattern, the way they do things. They would have rented places, and so those who have that suspicion, I would say they are justified because from where I sit, I see this to be well orchestrated, because then 5 months in captivity, even if you live on your own, feeding yourself for 5 months, it's not something that comes easy. And so I want to believe that the first things first, let's find where these girls are. Then what we can do is to explore, look at the bigger picture. How do we stop this? But whilst we are talking about that, I hope that the Immigration Service, today they are doing a passing out parade at the Asin Fosu immigration camp. When they are back into town, I'm hoping that they will strengthen the borders so that those who are coming in, we want quality immigrants, not thieves and criminals who would come in and take our peace for granted. And so these are some of the things that on the larger picture we have to look at. But the most important thing now has to do with finding out where these girls are. And so for me, that assertion that it's a syndicate is justified, and therefore we need to look at it and see how do we break that chain. If we get one of them who is on the loose arrested, I believe that we will find these girls. And I believe, I'm about 60% sure they are in this country.
Well, that sounds good, and I hope that it gives the parents some comfort. But until their children come home, they certainly won't have so much of comfort. Mr. Bona, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. As always, Adam Bona is a security analyst there, saying that, well, the fears that there could be a syndicate, a professional kidnapping syndicate, justified and deserves some attention there.